I paid for my son's entire wedding, and the night before it, his fiancée looked me in the eye and told me to get out like I was nothing. Before I continue, take a second to like this video and comment where you're watching from. I still remember the exact moment everything broke. The music was playing softly in the background. Laughter filled the room. Glasses clinked. People were smiling, talking, celebrating my son. My baby boy. The same boy I raised on my own. The same boy I worked double shifts for. Cried for. Sacrificed everything for. And there I was, standing in a beautiful venue that I had paid for down to the last detail. The flowers, the catering, the decorations, even the dress his fiancée was wearing. Everything. And yet somehow, I was the one who didn't belong. You're not welcome here. Her voice cut through the room like a knife. Perfect hair. Perfect makeup. Perfect smile for everyone else. But not for me. Her eyes were cold. Dark. And that finger. Pointing straight at me like I was some kind of stranger. You've done enough damage. Just leave. The entire room went silent. Every single person turned to look at me. I could feel their eyes on my skin. Judging, watching, waiting. My hands tightened around my purse. The same purse that had a $50,000 check inside it. For this wedding. For them. I looked at Ryan. My son. I was waiting. Hoping, begging without words for him to say something. Anything. Mom, don't listen to her. Emma, stop. This is my mother. But he didn't. He just stood there. Staring at the floor. Like I didn't exist. Like I wasn't the woman who gave him everything. And in that moment, something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Like glass breaking deep inside your chest. I swallowed hard. Whoa. I wasn't going to cry. Not here. Not in front of people who clearly didn't respect me. So I nodded slightly, turned around, and walked out. Slowly. Only. With whatever dignity I had left. I could hear whispers behind me. Feel eyes following me. But I didn't stop. Not until I reached the parking lot. The cold night air hit my face. And that's when it finally happened. I sat in my car. Closed the door, and just stared ahead. Her voice kept replaying in my head. You're not welcome here. Over and over again. But the worst part. It wasn't her. It was Ryan. My son. He didn't defend me. He didn't even look at me. Felt like I had lost him long before that moment. I just didn't realize it until now. My phone started buzzing. Message after message. Where did you go? Are you okay? Don't make a scene. I let out a small, bitter laugh. Not one message asked, what did they do to you? Not one. That's when something changed. The sadness didn't disappear. But it hardened. Turned into something colder. Something stronger. They thought I was weak. 'Cause I stayed quiet. 'Cause I always fixed things. 'Cause I always paid. And forgave. But tonight, that version of me was gone. Picked up my phone. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. I opened my email. Scrolled to the wedding planner's contact. Hovered for a second. Took a deep breath. And called. She answered on the second ring. Cheerful. Professional. Hi, I was just finalizing everything for tomorrow. I'm canceling everything. Silence. I'm sorry, what? Everything, I repeated, my voice calm. Steady. Almost too calm. The venue. The catering. The flowers. The band. All of it. There was a long pause. Are you sure? This is extremely last minute. I'm the one who paid for it, I said. And if I'm not welcome at that wedding, then neither is my money. By the time I hung up, my hands had stopped shaking. The anger was still there, but now, felt controlled, focused, like a decision, not a reaction. I started the car and drove home in silence. When I walked into my house, it felt Different. Quieter. Heavier. I went straight to the kitchen table and pulled out the wedding binder I had spent months putting together. Every tab was labeled. Every detail organized. Venue. Caterer. Florist. Photographer. Every single contract had one thing in common. Name. My signature. My money. They hadn't built this wedding. I had. And now, I was taking it back. Picked up my phone again and started making calls. One by one. The venue. Cancelled. The florist. Cancelled. The caterer. Cancelled. The photographer. Cancelled. Every call made me feel stronger. Freighter. Like I was finally standing up after years of bending. They thought this wedding belonged to them. But the truth was, never did. And tomorrow, when they woke up expecting their perfect fairy tale, they were going to walk straight into reality. No flowers. No food. No music. Nothing. Just the consequences of their own actions. I ended the last call and sat back in my chair. For the first time that night. Smiled. Not a happy smile. Not a soft one. Cold one. Because they had no idea what was coming. And for once, I wasn't going to save them. The next morning, I didn't wake up feeling guilty. I woke up feeling calm. Not peaceful. Not happy. Just clear. Like something inside me had finally settled after years of noise. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't rushing to fix something. I wasn't apologizing for things that weren't my fault. I wasn't writing checks to keep people happy. I just sat there at my kitchen table, staring at my phone, waiting. And right on time. Started. My phone exploded with notifications. Missed calls. Texts. Voicemails. All from one person. Ryan. I watched his name flash across the screen again and again. I didn't answer. Not yet. Let him feel it. Let him sit in the silence the same way I did last night. While he stood there and said nothing. Then, the knocking started. Loud. Aggressive. Mom. Open the door. I didn't move. Another knock. Harder this time. I know you're in there. I took a slow sip of my now cold coffee and stayed exactly where I was. For 30 years, I'd always opened that door. Always. No matter what. But not today. Not anymore. You can't do this, he shouted from outside. It's our wedding. A small, almost invisible smile touched my lips. No, Ryan, I whispered under my breath. It never was. The knocking stopped. Silence. Then footsteps. And finally, the sound of his car driving away. I exhaled slowly. But the moment didn't last long. 'Cause my phone rang again. This time. Answered. What the hell are you doing? Ryan snapped the second I picked up. No, hi. No, are you okay? Just anger. I leaned back in my chair, my voice calm. Controlled. You stood there yesterday, I said quietly, and let her throw me out. There was a pause. I didn't want to make a scene, he muttered. I let out a short, cold laugh. Oh, but it was fine for her to make one. Mom, you're overreacting. Overreacting. Cut him off. I paid for everything, Ryan. Every single thing. And you let her treat me like I was nothing. It's our wedding, he shouted. No, I said, my voice steady. It was my gift. And now it's gone. Silence. I could hear his breathing on the other end. Panic. You don't understand, he said finally. We're losing everything. The venue, the vendors. Emma is crying right now. She should have thought about that, I replied, before she told me to leave. Another pause. Longer this time. And, Mom, please. That word. Please. Funny how it only shows up when people need something from you. Before I could respond, another notification popped up on my screen. Message after message. Opened them. And just like that, any softness I had left disappeared. You bitter, jealous old woman. You've always hated me. You're ruining Ryan's life. You're toxic. Stay away from us. I stared at the screen, my jaw tightening. Then I brought the phone back to my ear. Did you see what she's sending me? Yes. She's just upset, Ryan said quickly. No, I replied. She's just showing who she really is. Mom. Goodbye, Ryan. And I hung up. I didn't wait for him to speak again. Didn't give him the chance. Because I already knew. Nothing he said would change anything. I placed my phone face down on the table. But it didn't stop. Again. Calling. Texting. Spamming. I ignored all of it. 'Cause for once, I wasn't reacting. I was choosing. And I chose silence. The kind of silence that finally protects you. Instead of hurting you. But they weren't done. Not even close. By 9 a.m. The doorbell rang again. This time. Opened it. Ryan stood there. He looked worse than yesterday. Tired. Frustrated. Angry. He didn't even wait. He pushed past me into the house. What the hell, Mom? He snapped. You've destroyed everything. I closed the door slowly, calmly. Lower your voice, I said. You're in my house. He started pacing like he used to as a teenager. Running his hands through his hair. The venue is gone, he said. They gave our date to someone else. The florist isn't answering. Nobody is answering us. Good, I said. He stopped. Stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Do you even care? He asked. I looked him straight in the eyes. Yes, I said. I care enough to stop funding my own humiliation. His face twisted in disbelief. Humiliation. Emma didn't mean it like that. She told me to leave, I said sharply. In front of everyone. And you stood there and said nothing. I was trying not to make things worse. You already did, I replied. The room went quiet. Heavy. Then his expression changed. Something colder. Something crueler. You've always been like this, he said. Controlling. Selfish. The words hit. Hard. But this time. I didn't break. I didn't cry. I didn't defend myself. I just looked at him. And for the first time, I really saw him. Not my little boy. Not the child I raised. Just a man. Stranger. You chose her, I said quietly. So let her pay for the wedding she wants. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Once, he had nothing to say. I walked to the door and opened it. You should go. He stood there for a second, then stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. And just like that, he was gone. Again. I leaned against the door, closing my eyes for a moment. My hands were shaking. My chest was tight. But deep down, I knew something. Something painful. Something real. My son wasn't the boy I raised anymore. And maybe he hadn't been for a long time. I just didn't want to see it. After Ryan left, the house felt too quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Empty quiet. The kind that echoes. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the door he had just slammed. Like maybe he'd come back. Like maybe he'd knock again. Softer this time. Say, I'm sorry, Mom. But he didn't. And deep down, I knew he wouldn't. I pushed myself off the door and walked slowly into the kitchen. My coffee was still sitting there. Untouched, cold. Just like everything else in my life lately. I wrapped my hands around the mug anyway. But I didn't drink it. I just sat there, thinking, replaying everything. And that's when the phone started ringing again. I didn't even have to look. Family. Course. I let it ring once. 3 times. And picked up. Colleen. A familiar voice said carefully. Linda. My sister-in-law. I closed my eyes for a second. Yeah. I just spoke to Ryan, she said gently. He's really upset. I let out a quiet breath. Is he? Colleen, she continued, her tone soft but firm. You need to fix this. There it was. Fix it. Like I always did. Like I always had to. How exactly do you suggest I do that? Yes. Well, she hesitated. Reinstate the payments. Call the vendors back. It's not too late. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. They're young, she added quickly. They made a mistake. Don't ruin their wedding over one moment. One moment. I gripped the mug tighter. That one moment, I said slowly, was me being thrown out of a room I paid for, in front of everyone. There was a pause. Maybe Emma felt threatened, Linda said carefully. Threatened. And blinked. Threatened. I repeated. I paid for her entire wedding. I'm just saying, Linda sighed. Don't let pride get in the way of family. Be the bigger person. Be the bigger person. I felt something in my chest tighten. That phrase. I had heard it my entire life. Be quiet. Be patient. Be understanding. Be forgiving. Be the bigger person. Which always meant one thing. Let people hurt you. And stay silent about it. I'm done being the bigger person, I said calmly. And I hung up. I didn't wait for her response. Because I already knew what it would be. Disappointment. Judgment. Maybe even anger. But for the first time, I didn't care. 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. I stared at the screen. And my stomach dropped. Mark. My ex-husband. Ryan's father. I almost didn't answer. But something in me needed to hear it. Needed confirmation. So I picked up. Colleen. His voice came through, calm, controlled, the same as always. Ryan called me. Of course he did. And? Yes. He said you cancelled everything. I did. Then a sigh. Whatever happened at the rehearsal? This is too much. Too much. I felt my grip tighten around the phone. Too much. I repeated. Where were you when his fiancée threw me out in front of 50 people? Silence. Don't make this about the past. I let out a bitter laugh. It's not about the past, I said. It's about respect. They're young, he said. They made a mistake. There it was again. The same excuse. Different voice. Let them have their day, he added. Be the bigger person. Closed my eyes. Course. Always me. Always the one who had to sacrifice. Who had to swallow everything. Be the bigger person, I repeated quietly. That's just code for keep paying and keep quiet, isn't it? Don't be dramatic, he snapped. That word. Dramatic. The word people use when they don't want to admit they hurt you. I smiled slightly. Not because I was amused. 'Cause I finally understood. Goodbye, Mark. And I hung up. I placed the phone on the table and just stared at it. It was so clear now. Painfully clear. To them. I wasn't family. I was a solution. Safety net. Wallet. And the moment I stopped giving, I became the problem. I stood up slowly and walked toward the window. My reflection stared back at me. Tired. Ill. But different. Stronger. Colder. More awake. For years, I thought love meant sacrifice. Endless sacrifice. But now, I saw the truth. Love without respect is just control. And I had been controlled for far too long. I don't remember when the tears started. Or when they stopped. I just remember sitting on the kitchen floor. My back against the cabinet. Staring into nothing. Not just grieving Ryan. But grieving everything. The years. The effort. The love that wasn't returned. The version of myself that kept giving. Hoping one day it would be enough. Never was. And it never would be. At some point, the tears stopped. Not because I felt better. But because there was nothing left to cry for. I slowly got up. Wiped my face. And walked to the sink. The cold water hit my hands, grounding me, bringing me back. And that's when something shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. Enough. That word echoed in my mind. Enough crying. Enough begging. Enough giving. Enough being used. I dried my hands, walked back to the table, and picked up my phone. If they wanted to play games, then it was time I stopped playing nice. Because this wasn't just about a wedding anymore. This was about respect. And I was finally ready to take mine back. The next morning, I didn't hesitate. No second guessing. No guilt. Just action. I got dressed, grabbed my keys, and drove straight to the one person I knew wouldn't try to calm me down, or tell me to be the bigger person. Margaret, my lawyer. She had handled everything for me over the years. Contracts, accounts, legal messes I didn't even fully understand. But more importantly, she didn't deal in emotions. She dealt in facts. And right now, that's exactly what I needed. Her office was quiet, clean, controlled. The opposite of the chaos my life had turned into. She looked up the moment I walked in. And her expression changed immediately. Concern. "Colleen," she said, standing up. "You look exhausted. What's going on?" I sat down across from her. And for the first time since all of this started, I told the whole story. Everything. The rehearsal dinner. Emma humiliating me. Ryan standing there doing nothing. The wedding I paid for. Every vendor I canceled. Every message. Every insult. Every betrayal. She didn't interrupt. Not once. She just listened. Focused. Taking it all in. When I finally stopped, the room went silent. She leaned back slightly, studying me. Then she said something I didn't expect. "You did nothing wrong." I blinked. "What?" "You heard me," she said firmly. "Every contract is in your name. Every payment came from your account. Legally. That wedding was yours to cancel." Something in my chest loosened. Just a little. But what if they try something? Yes. Like, sue me or something. Margaret gave a small, almost amused smile. "On what grounds?" she said. "They didn't pay. They didn't sign. They don't have a case." For the first time in days. Exhaled. Real breath. "They've been acting like I ruined their lives," I said quietly. "No," Margaret replied. "They're upset because their free ride ended." That hit harder than anything else. 'Cause it was true. Painfully true. She reached for a folder and slid it toward me. "I'm going to prepare formal notices," she said. "Confirming cancellations. Making it clear you were the sole financial authority." I nodded slowly. "And if they keep harassing you," she added, "we escalate." Harassing. The word stuck with me. 'Cause that's exactly what it felt like. Calls. Texts. Pressure. The guilt. It wasn't concern. It wasn't love. It was control. A knock came at the door. Margaret's assistant peeked in. "Sorry to interrupt. There's a call for you. Says it's urgent." Margaret frowned slightly. "Who is it?" The assistant hesitated. "Ryan." My stomach tightened instantly. Margaret looked at me. "Do you want to take it?" I didn't even think. "No." She gave a small nod. "Good." Then she turned back to her assistant. "Tell him all communication goes through me." The door closed. And just like that, something shifted inside me. For the first time, I wasn't being pulled into their chaos. I was stepping outside of it. "You've carried them long enough," Margaret said calmly. Her words landed deep. 'Cause she was right. I had carried everything. The finances. The responsibility. The emotional weight. All of it. And they had gotten used to it. Expected it. Relied on it. But now, I was putting it down. "I'll also draft a cease and desist," she continued. "For the messages. The harassment. Any public statements they make. Public statements. I frowned. What do you mean? She raised an eyebrow slightly. You haven't checked your social media, have you? My heart dropped. Slowly. I reached for my phone. Opened it. And instantly. Understood. Notifications. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Facebook. Instagram. Messages from people I barely even talk to anymore. My chest tightened as I opened the first post. Crying. Perfectly styled. Even in tears. Caption. I never thought my future mother-in-law would destroy our wedding out of jealousy and spite. My jaw clenched. I hit play. She cancelled everything, Emma sobbed. The venue, the flowers, the food. Everything. Her voice cracked, but something about it felt off. Too controlled. Too perfect. We didn't want to share this publicly, she continued. But she left us no choice. I scrolled down. Comments flooded in. What kind of mother does that? Cut her off. She sounds toxic. Stay strong, Emma. My hands started shaking. Not from sadness. From anger. Every word. Lie. A complete, twisted lie. After everything I had done. Everything I had paid for. She was painting me as the villain. Margaret's voice cut through my thoughts. Take screenshots, she said calmly. Everything. He nodded. And that's exactly what I did. Post after post. Comment after comment. Message after message. I saved all of it. Organized it. Documented it. Because if Emma wanted to go public, then she was about to learn something. The truth doesn't stay hidden forever. And when it comes out, it hits harder than any lie. I looked back down at my phone. At her face. At the sympathy she was collecting. At the narrative she was building. And for a moment, I almost laughed. Because she thought she was winning. She thought she had control. She thought she could twist the story. And I would stay quiet like always. But not this time. This time, I was ready. And if she wanted a war, then she was about to get one. Just not the kind she expected. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was upset, but because my mind wouldn't stop working. Every message. Every lie. Every accusation Emma posted kept replaying in my head. But this time I wasn't reacting emotionally. I was thinking. Strategically. Carefully. Because this wasn't just about feelings anymore. This had turned into something else. Something bigger. A reputation. A narrative. And right now, she controlled it. By morning I was already at my desk. Laptop open. Phone beside me. Every screenshot neatly saved in folders. Emma's post. Comments. The messages she sent me privately. Everything. I wasn't guessing anymore. I had proof. And that changed everything. Then my phone rang. Her name flashed across the screen. Emma. I stared at it for a second. Then answered. Not because I wanted to hear her, but because I wanted to understand her. Colleen. Her voice came through soft, controlled, almost sweet. Completely different from the messages she had been sending. I think we need to talk. I leaned back in my chair. I'm listening. There was a slight pause. I know things got heated at the rehearsal, she said carefully. We were all stressed. Weddings can be overwhelming, you know. I almost smiled. Tone. The fake calm. The careful words. I shouldn't have said what I said, she continued. But canceling everything. That's extreme. Extreme. I let that word sit in the air for a moment. You told me to leave, I said quietly. In front of everyone. I didn't mean it like that, she said quickly. I was overwhelmed. It wasn't personal. Not personal. I looked down at my phone. Remembering her texts. You called me a bitter, jealous old woman, I said calmly. You told me to stay away from you. That I was toxic. Silence. For a second, her mask slipped. Then she recovered. Those were private messages, she said, her voice tightening slightly. I was upset. So public lies were fine. But private truth was just emotions. I think we're getting off track, she continued quickly. Ryan and I. We can't afford to lose everything. The deposits, the bookings, the guests. People are expecting a wedding. There it was. Not an apology. Not accountability. Money. Image. Expectations. Be reasonable, she added. Do this for Ryan. I felt my grip tighten slightly around the phone. I am being reasonable, I said calmly. I'm saving myself. Silence. And then, her voice changed. Completely. The softness disappeared. The sweetness vanished. What replaced it was real. You're a bitter old woman, she hissed. I've always known it. There it was. No filter. No performance. Just truth. You've been jealous of me from the start, she continued. Ryan deserves better than you. I didn't even react. Didn't argue. Didn't defend. 'Cause now, I understood everything. If he deserves better, I said quietly, then he can marry better too. And I hung up. No hesitation. No second thought. Because there was nothing left to say. I set my phone down and just sat there for a moment. Not angry. Not hurt. Just done. Completely done. But the story didn't end there. Because about an hour later, something happened that changed everything. I was going through my emails, clearing out notifications, when one subject line caught my attention. Final payment confirmation. Maldives honeymoon package. I frowned. Maldives. I didn't remember booking anything like that. First I thought it was spam. But then I saw the email address. Name. My account. And suddenly, my stomach dropped. Opened it. And the moment I read the details, everything inside me went cold. Thank you for booking your 14-night luxury stay in an overwater villa. I scrolled down. Private butler service. Unlimited champagne. Private yacht experience. My hands started shaking. And then I saw it. Charged to your American Express ending in 3921. My card. My money. Kept reading. And then the names appeared. Ryan Meyer. Emma Whittaker. I felt like the air had been knocked out of my lungs. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't accidental. This was planned. Carefully. Quietly. Deliberately. The booking date. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. While I was meeting Emma for lunch. While we were discussing flowers. She was using my card. To book a $26,000 honeymoon. Without asking. Without telling me. Without even thinking twice. I scrolled further. Another email. Thank you for your recent purchase. Designer bridal luggage set. Another charge. Another use of my card. I quickly opened my banking app. My heart pounding. Transaction after transaction appeared. Thousands. Without my knowledge. Without my permission. Boutique purchases. Luxury services. Deposits. Spa treatments. Everything. And not a single one. Made by me. I leaned back in my chair slowly. My jaw tight. My pulse racing. This wasn't just entitlement. This wasn't just disrespect. This was theft. Plain and simple. And suddenly, everything made sense. The wedding. The attitude. The confidence. The way Emma spoke to me. The way Ryan didn't stop her. They weren't just expecting my help. They were depending on my silence. Because they thought I would never say no. Never fight back. Never expose them. But they were wrong. Completely wrong. I closed my laptop slowly. The sound echoed in the quiet room. And in that moment, something inside me locked into place. No more conversations. No more chances. No more mercy. They didn't just cross a line. They erased it. And now, it was time for consequences. Real ones. That night, I didn't cry. Not after what I saw. Not after what I realized. Because once you see the truth that clearly, there's nothing left to cry about. Only decisions. And I had already made mine. The next morning I walked back into Margaret's office. But this time I wasn't the same person who sat there yesterday. Yesterday I was hurt. Today, I was prepared. She looked up the moment I walked in. And immediately noticed the difference. "You found something," she said. It wasn't a question. I placed my phone on her desk, opened the email, and slid it toward her. "Read that." She adjusted her glasses slightly and started scrolling. I watched her expression change. Slowly, carefully, from neutral, focused, to something sharper. "Is this your card?" she asked. "Yes." "Did you authorize any of these charges?" "No." She leaned back in her chair. And for the first time since I'd known her, she looked angry. "This changes everything," she said. I felt my chest tighten slightly. "How bad is it?" Margaret folded her hands on the desk. "This isn't just a family dispute anymore," she said. "This is unauthorized use of funds. Depending on how we proceed, it could be classified as fraud." Fraud. The word hit differently. Heavier. Real. I swallowed slowly. "They're my family," I said quietly. Margaret's gaze didn't soften. "And they used you," she replied. No hesitation. No sugarcoating. Just truth. "And if you don't act now," she continued, "they'll keep doing it." I looked down at the phone. The charges. The names. Ryan. Emma. My son. And the woman he chose over me. "Walk me through our options," I said. And just like that, became business. "First," Margaret said, "we contact your bank and report the charges. Immediately. That stops further damage." He nodded. "Second, we freeze any joint accounts connected to Ryan." My stomach twisted slightly. That account. I had opened it for him when he was in college. It was supposed to be safety, support, a way of saying I'll always be here. And now, he was using it against me. Margaret slid a document toward me. "He withdrew $7,500 last month," she said. "Right after you paid the venue deposit." I stared at the number, then looked up at her. I didn't even know he was still using that account. "He didn't tell you," she said. "Because he knew you wouldn't approve." Silence filled the room. Heavy, uncomfortable, but necessary. "Third," she continued, "we send a formal cease and desist. For the posts." "Yes." "For everything," she said. "The harassment, the defamation, the unauthorized use of your funds." I nodded slowly. My hands rested on the paper in front of me. "Will. Teddy. Do it," I said. No hesitation. No emotion. Just a decision. Margaret gave a small nod. "Good." She picked up her phone and started issuing instructions to her assistant. Her voice was calm. Professional. Precise. "Draft the notice. Include financial misuse, public defamation, and harassment. Send copies certified and digital." I sat there, listening as everything started moving. Fast, efficient, final. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel overwhelmed. Felt in control. When she hung up, she looked back at me. "You're doing the right thing," she said. I gave a small nod. "I know." 'Cause I finally did. By the time I got home, the silence was gone. My phone was buzzing again. But this time, it wasn't just Ryan and Emma. It was everyone. Notifications flooded my screen. Messages. Mentions. Curiosity got the better of me. So I opened social media again. And what I saw was different. Very different. Emma had posted again. Another photo. Another caption. "Trying to stay strong during this difficult time. Please respect our privacy." But this time, the comments weren't the same. They weren't all supportive anymore. Something had shifted. What actually happened? I heard the mom paid for everything. This story isn't adding up. Why would she cancel unless something serious happened? I scrolled further. More comments, more questions, more doubt. And then, I saw it. Comment that stopped me cold. My cousin works at the venue. The mom paid for everything. The couple didn't pay a dime. And blinked. Read it again. And again. Then another comment appeared right below it. Wait. So they used her money and then kicked her out? And just like that, the narrative started to crack. The perfect image Emma had built was breaking, piece by piece. And she couldn't control it anymore. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen, watching it happen in real time. The truth doesn't need help, finds its way out, always. And now, it was spreading. Yes, I didn't comment, didn't defend myself, didn't say a single word. Because I didn't need to. They were exposing themselves. All I had to do was wait. By the end of that week, everything started falling apart for them. Not slowly, not quietly, all at once. Began with something small. Single comment, then another, then 10 more. People weren't just asking questions anymore. They were connecting the dots. And once people start doing that, the truth spreads fast. Really fast. I was sitting at my kitchen table that morning, scrolling through my phone, watching it all unfold. Emma's posts were still up. The crying videos. The captions about toxic family. The sympathy she had been collecting. But now, the tone in the comments had changed. Completely. Didn't she pay for everything though? Why would you kick out the person funding your wedding? This doesn't look good. Something's off here. Kept scrolling. More comments. More doubt. More people starting to see through it. And then, it escalated. Someone posted a screenshot. The honeymoon booking. The Maldives package. My card. Names. Froze. I didn't know who leaked it. I didn't post it. Margaret didn't either. But somehow, it was out. And once it was out, there was no stopping it. The internet did what it always does. It ran with it. So they used her card for a luxury honeymoon? This is insane. They literally robbed her. And then humiliated her? The comments weren't sympathetic anymore. They were brutal, unfiltered, honest, and for once, they weren't directed at me. I sat there, reading everything, feeling something strange settle inside me. Not satisfaction, not revenge, relief, because the truth was finally louder than the lies. I didn't have to defend myself. I didn't have to explain anything. People saw it, clearly, and they reacted exactly how I expected. My phone rang. Linda. I stared at the screen for a moment, then answered. Colleen. Her voice sounded different this time. Careful. Almost apologetic. I didn't know, she said quietly. I didn't respond. I saw everything online, she continued. The comments, the screenshots. I didn't realize they had done all that to you. I leaned back in my chair. You believed her, I said calmly. I know, she admitted. And I'm sorry. There was a pause. Real one. Not awkward. Just honest. People are starting to talk, she added. They're realizing the truth. I figured, I said. Another pause. You're not alone in this anymore, she said softly. I looked down at my phone. At the silence between her words. I was always alone, I replied. And then I ended the call. Not out of anger. Not out of bitterness. But because I didn't need comfort anymore. Not from people who only show up after the damage is done. I set the phone aside, and stood up slowly. Walked toward the window. Outside everything looked normal. Cars passing. People going about their day. Like nothing had happened. But inside my life, everything had changed. Completely. My phone buzzed again. Another call. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something told me to answer. Hello. Colleen, this is Gary Whitaker. Emma's father. His voice was tight. Controlled. But underneath it, panic. I didn't say anything. I just waited. I don't know exactly what happened between you and Emma, he said. But this situation is getting out of hand. Out of hand. I almost smiled. Is it? I replied. He exhaled sharply. Look, if this is about money, we can figure something out. There it was. Finally. The truth. Not concern. Not family. Money. I can't promise we'll cover everything right away, he continued. But we'll work something out if you just reinstate the wedding. Reinstate. Like it was a switch. Like none of this mattered. Like I was still the same woman who would fix everything. I let the silence stretch. Long enough for him to feel it. No, I said simply. His tone changed instantly. Frustrated. Do you understand what this is doing to Emma? He snapped. To our family's reputation. I closed my eyes for a second. There it was again. Reputation. Image. What people think. Not what actually happened. Then you should have raised her better, I said calmly. And I hung up. I didn't wait. Didn't listen to whatever he was about to say next. 'Cause I was done listening. Done negotiating. Done fixing things that weren't my responsibility. I walked back to the table, picked up my phone, and opened my email. A new message sat at the top. From the venue. Your requested cancellation has been processed. The date has been reassigned. Reassigned. Their wedding date. Given to someone else. Just like that. I stared at the email for a moment. Then closed it. No emotion. No reaction. 'Cause by now, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness. Not joy. Just peace. The kind that comes when you finally stop fighting for people who were never fighting for you. Later that night, another message came in. From Ryan. Subject line. Let's move past this. Opened it. And as I read the words, actually laughed. Loud. Because after everything, after the lies, the insults, the betrayal, he wrote, we've decided to forgive you. Forgive me. I leaned back in my chair, shaking my head slowly. He continued, if you can behave, you can still come to the wedding. I covered my mouth, trying not to laugh again, because at that moment, I realized something. They still didn't get it. Not even a little. They thought they still had control. They thought I would come back, apologize, fix everything, like I always did. But this time, they were wrong. Closed the email. Didn't reply. Didn't react. Because silence was louder than anything I could say. And for the first time, meant it. I was done. Completely. The wedding day still came. Bright. Sunny. Perfect. Exactly the kind of day Emma had dreamed about. And for the first time in years, I wasn't part of it. I woke up slowly. Not to stress. Not to phone calls. Not to chaos. But to silence. Real silence. The kind that feels peaceful. I wasn't in my house. I wasn't anywhere near them. Instead, I was sitting on the balcony of a quiet oceanfront hotel, miles away, far from the drama, far from the noise, far from them. The air smelled like salt and eucalyptus. The sound of waves crashing softly in the distance. And in my hand, a glass of champagne. Cold. Refreshing. I leaned back in the chair, letting the sun warm my skin. And for the first time in a very long time, felt light. Not empty. Not numb. Free. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. I glanced at it. Message. Today's the big day. See you at 2 p.m. I smiled slightly. They didn't know. Most people didn't. They still thought there was a wedding. That everything was going as planned. That the fairy tale was still intact. But I knew the truth. At exactly 2 p.m., I closed my eyes for a second. And imagined it. The venue. The same one I had booked months ago. Now filled with someone else's flowers. Someone else's laughter. Someone else's love story. Not Emma's. Not Ryan's. Their fairy tale had been replaced. And somehow, that didn't make me feel cruel. It didn't make me feel satisfied. Just made me feel. A staff member walked over quietly, placing a fresh fruit platter beside me. Would you like another glass? She asked softly. I glanced at my empty flute. Then nodded. Yes, please. She smiled and walked away. I picked up my phone again. Opened Instagram. And paused. For a moment. I hesitated. Then I switched to the camera. Snapped a picture. The ocean. The sunlight. The edge of my champagne glass in the corner. Simple. Peaceful. Untouched by everything that had happened. I stared at the photo for a second. Then typed. Best decision I ever made. No explanation. No names. No drama. Just that. Posted it. And locked my phone. Because I didn't need to see the reactions. I didn't need validation. This wasn't for them. It was for me. Later that afternoon, I turned my phone back on. Notifications flooded the screen instantly. Dozens. Then hundreds. Comments. Messages. Curiosity pulled me back in. So I opened Instagram again. And what I saw was chaos. Emma's page was silent. No new posts. No updates. Nothing. But the comments under her old posts. Exploding. This is embarrassing. So the wedding didn't even happen. She lied about everything. Imagine treating someone like that and expecting them to still pay. I scrolled slowly, taking it all in, piece by piece. Then I saw something else. Post from a guest. Photo of the venue. Decorated. Beautiful. Full of people. But not Emma and Ryan. Completely different couple. Smiling. Happy. Getting married. On the same date. The same place. I stared at the image for a long moment. And then smiled. Not cold. Not bitter. Just quiet. Because that picture said everything. Without me saying a single word. Their dream wedding was never theirs to begin with. And now, it belonged to someone else. My phone buzzed again. Message. Ryan. Can we talk? I stared at it. Read it again. And again. And I locked my phone. And placed it face down on the table. No response. No reaction. 'Cause I already knew something. This wasn't about fixing things anymore. This wasn't about family. Or love. Or understanding. This was about consequences. And for once, I wasn't going to protect them from those consequences. I leaned back in my chair, closing my eyes, listening to the waves, letting everything settle. All the noise, all the pain, all the years of giving, and giving, and giving, replaced with something simple, something quiet, something I should have chosen a long time ago. Is real peace. The kind that doesn't depend on anyone else. The kind you create when you finally walk away. By Monday morning, the story had spread everywhere. Not just among family. Not just friends. Everyone. What started as whispers turned into conversations. Conversations turned into opinions. And opinions turned into judgment. Emma's perfect image was gone. Completely. I woke up to sunlight pouring through the curtains. The soft sound of waves still in the background. And a phone full of notifications. I didn't rush to check them. I didn't feel that urgency anymore. That need to know. That need to react. Instead, took my time, made coffee, sat down on the balcony, and only then picked up my phone. The first thing I saw was silence from Emma. No posts, no stories, no crying videos, nothing. But the internet. It wasn't silent. Far from it. I opened one of the posts she had made days ago. The same one where she called me toxic. And now, the comments had completely flipped. This didn't age well. You owe her an apology. She paid for everything. This is what entitlement looks like. I scrolled slowly, taking it all in, not enjoying it, not celebrating it, just observing. Because this wasn't revenge. This was reality catching up. Another notification popped up. Message. Linda again. This time. Opened it. Colleen. I just wanted to say I'm really sorry. We all misjudged you. I stared at the message for a moment, then typed a simple reply. I know. Nothing more. Because there was nothing more to say. An apology doesn't erase how quickly people turn on you. Just proves how easily they can be wrong. Another message came in. Different number. Short. Direct. We need to talk. Ryan. Course. I didn't reply. But this time, I didn't ignore it completely either. Because something felt different. Tone. Timing. The silence from Emma. The backlash online. Everything had shifted. And now, they were feeling it. Really feeling it. A few minutes later, my phone rang. I looked at the screen. Ryan. I let it ring once. And answered. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Just silence. Then finally, Mom. His voice was different. Quieter. Not angry. Not demanding. Just uncertain. I know you're busy, he said. But, can we talk? I leaned back in my chair, staring out at the ocean. We're talking, I replied calmly. Another pause. I messed up, he said. The words hung in the air. Simple, but heavy. I should have said something that night, he continued. I shouldn't have let Emma talk to you like that. Listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't react. Because apologies are easy. Especially when things fall apart. I didn't realize how bad things were, he added. The money, the posts, everything. I let out a slow breath. You didn't realize. I said quietly. No, he admitted. I didn't know she used your card like that. I closed my eyes for a second. Not because I believed him, but because I understood something. It didn't matter anymore. Whether he knew or didn't know, whether he meant it or didn't. The damage was already done. She's getting a lot of hate right now, he said carefully. It's bad. Course it was. And, yes, I just thought maybe we could fix this, he said. Move past everything. Fix this. There it was again. That word. That expectation. That I would step in. Clean it up, make everything okay. Like I always had. I opened my eyes, looking out at the endless water. Said he. Unbothered. Ryan, I said softly. There's nothing left to fix. Silence. I'm still your son, he said quickly. That hasn't changed. I let those words sit for a moment. Then I replied. No, I said quietly. That changed a long time ago. Another pause. Longer this time. He didn't argue. Didn't raise his voice. 'Cause deep down, he knew. I'm sorry, he said again. I nodded slightly. Even though he couldn't see it. I know, I replied. And for the first time, meant it. Not forgiveness. Not acceptance. Just acknowledgement. Then I pulled the phone away slightly. Ready to end the call. Mom, wait, he said quickly. Stop. What? Can we meet? He asked. Just once. Talk properly. Thought about it. For a second. Then two. Then I shook my head. No, The word came out calm. Certain. Final. Why not? He asked, his voice breaking slightly. I took a deep breath. Because this part mattered. Because I finally have peace, I said. And I'm not giving that up. Silence. And the line went quiet. Not because the call dropped, but because he didn't have anything left to say. And neither did I. So I ended it. I placed the phone on the table. And just sat there. Ease. For the first time in years. I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. I wasn't fixing anyone else's problems. I wasn't sacrificing myself for people who didn't respect me. I was just living. And that was enough. More than enough. A week passed. Then another. And for the first time in years, my life was quiet. Not the kind of quiet that feels empty, but the kind that feels earned. The kind that comes after a storm finally ends. I went back home eventually. Back to the same house. The same kitchen. The same table where everything had started. But it didn't feel the same. Because I wasn't the same. I moved differently. Thought differently. Felt differently. Stronger. Clearer. Lighter. The phone didn't ring as much anymore. The messages slowed down. People stopped asking questions. Stopped giving opinions. Stopped choosing sides. Because the truth had already done its job. It had settled. And once truth settles, there's nothing left to argue about. Emma disappeared completely from social media. No posts. No updates. No explanations. Just silence. And Ryan. He tried. Few texts. Few missed calls. Nothing desperate. Nothing dramatic. Just small attempts. But I didn't respond. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. But because I finally understood something I should have learned a long time ago. Not every relationship is meant to be repaired. Some are meant to end. And that's okay. One afternoon, I was sitting in my living room when I came across the wedding binder. The same one I had spent months building. Perfecting. Organizing. I picked it up slowly. Flipping through the pages. The venue. The flowers. The menu. Every detail planned with love. With care. With hope. I paused on one page. And stared at it for a long moment. And I closed the binder. And set it aside. Not because it didn't matter. But because it didn't define me anymore. The chapter was over. Completely. A few days later, I got one last message from Ryan. I understand now. I wish I saw it earlier. I read it once. Then again. Then I locked my phone. No reply. 'Cause sometimes, understanding comes too late. And that's a consequence people have to live with. Not everything gets a second chance. And not everything should. That night, I sat outside on my porch. Cup of tea in my hands. The air cool, quiet, still. I looked up at the sky. And just breathed. Low. Free. No expectations. No pressure. No one to fix. No one to prove anything to. Just me. And for the first time in a very long time, that was enough. They thought I would always be there. Always giving. Always forgiving. Always fixing. But they were wrong. Because the moment I chose myself, everything changed. Not just for them, but for me. And honestly, that was the best decision I ever made. Thank you for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. For more stories like this, check out our channel and watch other videos. Visit our channel for more exclusive content and updates.